this. Fuck. Did you see this? Look at this.
Father, think of the child.
Fuck. Yes.
It's freezing.
Now, as you take a look in our culture, people oftentimes might ask the question, okay, I've heard of these demon stories in the Bible or in the ancient world. I've heard about them in maybe third world countries. Is there a difference, or what is the difference between demon possession and mental illness? Do demon-possessed people even exist in the United States today? And the answer is yes, they do. I mean, you don't see them in malls and schools very often. They're most likely in urban areas or on the streets or in mental institutions. In fact, I think that sometimes it's the case that mental illness is misdiagnosed as possession, and sometimes demon possession is misdiagnosed as mental illness, and we need to be really clear to get the two things straight. In the Bible, even in a single verse like Matthew chapter 4, verse 24, it talks about people being afflicted with various kinds of illnesses and demon possession. It puts them in two separate categories that are there. So some people may ask, what are the characteristics of a possession as opposed to mental illness? Well, mental illness is oftentimes the result of a trauma, chemical imbalances, bad experiences, birth defects, or missed expectations. And while this is a challenge, it's very different from demon possession. Demon possession happens as a result of someone filling up their vase with the evil one or with his minions. This oftentimes happens as the result of satanic rituals, sometimes even foisted upon kids at a very young age, or maybe at the hands of severe abuse, or perhaps giving oneself over to certain forms of sexual depravity, or involvement in channeling, or tarot cards, or Ouija boards. And friends, some of these activities may seem to be innocent at first, but they are doors through which people can overtly invite spiritual forces of evil to come into their vases, to invade their lives. And that's why I'm saying don't even go there. Don't even dabble in it. Don't even mess with that kind of stuff, because it's truly dangerous. If you read the passages about these demon-possessed guys in Mark and Matthew and Luke together, you can put together a list of interesting characteristics that help to give clues as to what demon possession looks like as opposed to mental illness. Symptoms of demon possession, in this case, the guys were living in a tomb. In general, they live outside of community. They're so violent, so difficult that they can't live inside of normal community. They have supernatural strength. In this case, these guys would break chains with their raw strength that they could get iron or leg irons off of their legs. They're bent on violence towards people around them and violence towards themselves, self-destruction. One of the passages talks about how these guys cut themselves with rocks. And then the final piece is voice control. The voice that comes out of the person is not actually their voice or their words, but the demons speaking through them, oftentimes howling and shouting. This is very common in supernatural demonic encounters. Demons speaking in the first person, just like this guy. What do you want with us, Son of God? This guy said in this passage. And when encountering people who are possessed, it's like they take on an entirely different persona with a different voice during that period of time that they are possessed. Now, no one of these necessarily would be conclusive evidence that somebody's demon-possessed. Any of them could be a red flag. And if you're seeing a lot of them or all of them in the same place, I think that it should be a clear warning sign that demon possession may be taking place in that person's life. Now, in a general sense, most of the demonic activity that we see is not possession. As a matter of fact, the role of demons is very contained in this world. Their general place is to lie and deceive and point people in the wrong direction. They mostly do their work not from inside the vase, but from outside the vase, speaking things that are untrue to people in order to get them on the wrong track. Because their ultimate goal is not destruction. Their ultimate goal is just to keep people from God. And if they can do that through materialism or distraction or escapism, If they can do it through apathy or drugs or being given towards a particular sin or video games or whatever it is, anything that would keep you from God, that's their job. And that's what they're trying to do by influencing you externally. So here's what oppression looks like as opposed to possession. Oppression has an external voice that's outside of the vessel that's speaking to it. It's not an internal voice that comes from the inside. It's oftentimes typified by third-person condemnation. What do I mean by this? It's about things that you hear said about yourself, or maybe you even repeat and say them about yourself, but they're said in the third person, like, you are ugly. You deserve this pain. You are not good enough. God could not love you. You are shameful. Those kinds of words, if you find yourself hearing those, saying those, repeating those kinds of words in the third person, you don't talk about yourself in the third person. When you're talking about yourself, it's I. And God never says anything shameful or condemning towards you from the outside. So if it's not you and it's not God, it's obvious where the source of that pain is coming from. Now again, this takes the form of lies and influence, but not of any kind of control. There's nothing in that you can't resist or put off. Now I say this to draw an important distinction, because Christians, therefore, can be oppressed. You can have voices that are trying to communicate from the outside, but you cannot be possessed. Why do I say that? Because when you invite Jesus to come inside your life and take control, He fills up your vessel. You invite the Holy Spirit to come in, and He fills up your tank. And when you're filled up with Jesus, is He going to slide aside and make room for demons? Okay, let me ask you that out loud. Is Jesus going to slide aside and make room for demons? No, Jesus is not going to do that if He lives inside of you. He doesn't want to share that house with anybody. You give yourself to Jesus, and you cannot be possessed by those who are the opponents of Jesus. You need to be filled, but not filled with demons. You need to be filled with the Holy Spirit.
Oh, you're all so pathetically foolish, you know. Hell, to use an abstract concept, a mere word, you hear it, you think fire, brimstone, torture, darkness. It's all so much worse. It's a continual flaying of the psyche at nerve endings, a solitude in a darkness so whole and complete. Can you imagine eternity in all? No, you can't fathom how long an eternity is. There is no time or matter in eternity. Echoes in the abyss, we are the unspoken ones who dwell there. Our only respite is to cloak ourselves in this flesh.
So if you are what you say you are, and there is such a great evil, then there must be an opposite. That means there's a God. Is there a God?
Close.
You didn't answer my question. Is there a God?
If you speak of the great pain again, we'll whip out your tongue and feed it to you.
I only ask because you seem to wish me to write about you. In which case, there are some questions that need to be answered, wouldn't you agree?
Why do you question what you don't know? Do you wish to know a pig that sits silently while atrocities are being committed here?
I'll change the subject then. What do you want with Bethany?
To make her suffer. To make every breath an indignant agony.
But why?
Because we can. Because she let us in here.
No, I didn't, I swear.
Shut up, bitch! She let us in when she was by the roadside bleeding to death, drifting into darkness. It didn't take much. When confronted with darkness, you will question, bargain, and barter. Consequence be damned. So we made her an offer. We would restore her as long as we were allowed to hitch a ride. So now here we are.
So you tricked her then?
No! She let us in willingly! Why is it you all are so unwilling to admit your flaws and weaknesses, sins? Carry them around with you, your fear of the lies that you tell everyone. Tell yourselves.
He touched me. I never told anyone, but it's true. He touched me in bad ways.
Bethany.
My protector. He came in at night, and he held me down. And he did things.
Your father. What did he do to you?
He fucked her! so good this one. There was not an inch that he didn't lick, bite. It's not a crevice that he didn't. The old bitch upstairs knew about it. She pretended to be asleep every night. She justified it. And she blamed her own child. She blamed her own child!
How do I know you're telling the truth?
Because you know it.
Do I? You could very easily be lying or manipulating half-truths.
We have no reason to lie. The truth cuts deeper. Knowing all secrets, even yours, Veronica. Oh, you're ripe with fear and doubt. Shouts to us, sings choruses. You don't want the child you carry. Nuisance, inconvenience, wrong. Do you hate it? Or are you just afraid? Oh, incapable of loving it like your mother was of loving you.
You don't know anything.
Maybe. She's in hell, you know. Your mother, she's in hell. With us.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She slit her wrist, didn't she? Oh, foolish bitch. And now she burns. Now she suffers.
Please, Veronica, please, Veronica, please.
She cries in the darkness, agonizing daily as we torment her, as we tear the flesh hungrily from her bones, gnawing on My. What have we done now? All those years wasted trying to save her through others, even though you know you never can. She'll always be in that tub, bleeding out, trying to escape this world, and you. It's too much for her. All of you.
You don't know anything about me or my family.
Oh, we know everything. Why you can't attach yourself to this world? Because you fear the darkness in her rests in you. Someday it'll be too much for you, too. You'll give up, lose your desire to live, and you'll end up alone in the darkness, alone with us, like her.
You're sick. You are sick and you're full of shit!
She waits for you, Veronica. We all do. Let us in!